Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm doing a Chemicritter deck profile. So this has been a while since I've done this one, if I've ever done this one. I think I did this one a long time ago, when the deck actually came out in Invasion of Vengeance, but it has been a long time since I actually did an update of this deck, and I wanted to do an update of it because it's a really fun, weird deck, and with all the new Gemini support that came out recently in Toon Chaos, I figured it was a perfect time to go ahead and update this deck. So, without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out that Patreon down in the description below, because we have some awesome rewards for you guys, like getting your name in the description of every single video, getting a signed card sent to mail, or even getting to request a deck profile just like this one every single month that you're our patron. So without further ado guys, let's get straight on into this. So it's a really interesting deck that basically plays a bunch of Gemini monsters. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Chemicritter Diox Ogre. What this card does is all of your monsters in the main deck that are Gemini monsters, giving you a brief overview, you guys don't know what Gemini monsters are. Gemini monsters are essentially monsters that count as normal monsters while they're in the hand and while they're in the graveyard, which is kind of interesting, and you have to normal summon them an additional time in order for you to gain their effects. So like, for instance, if I have my Chemicritter Diox Ogre on my side of the field, I can use up my normal summon once it's already on the field to normal summon it again. Now keep in mind, it is a level 8 monster. I do not have to tribute for it again though, so that's something to keep in mind about this card. But once they're normal summoned again, they gain their particular effects. So, the effect of this card is the normal summon of your Gemini monsters cannot be negated, and then once per turn you can banish a Gemini monster from your graveyard, and then target one card your opponent controls and destroy it, which is pretty good at a 2800 beats deck. And this deck does look like, I'm going to go ahead and say, it does look like you're not going to be able to get their effects off, but you can. There's a lot of cards in the deck that fix that ability, especially with the new stuff that came out. So then we play 2 copies of Chemicritter Hydro Dragon. What this card does is it has the ability that when another Gemini monster is normal or special summon, you can make that monster gain 500 attack and defense, and if a Gemini monster you control be destroyed by a card effect, then you can destroy one other card on the field instead, which is really cool. I like that effect. We then play 3 copies of Chemicritter Hydro Hawk. Hydro Hawk is really cool because what this card does is you can discard one card and then target a Gemini monster in your graveyard and special summon it in defense position. If these monsters had their actual effects and they weren't Gemini monsters, this deck would potentially be maybe meta. Maybe meta. I don't want to say it would be, but it might be. We then play 3 copies of Oxyox. Oxyox is really interesting because during the main phase you can special summon a Gemini monster in your hand, and if you do, all Gemini monsters you currently control become that monster's original level until the end phase of the turn. So it makes it so they're all become level 8, basically, if you special summon a level 8 monster from your hand. I then play 2 copies of Carbon Crab. Carbon Crab is the only one that I actually play it to besides the Hydro Dragon. What Carbon Crab does is it helps you thin the deck by, during your main phase, you can send a Gemini monster from your deck to the graveyard, and then add a Gemini monster from your deck to your hand, which is really good, but I feel like Carbon Crab is just a 2-of to me because you have to send one to add one, and it's really good, but it helps with the setup and all, but I feel like I have other cards that I would really rather play. We then play a single copy of Phoenix Guilford. Phoenix Guilford is an interesting card in this deck that has the Gemini effect of when your opponent activates a spell card, you can select a Gemini monster in your graveyard and special summon it. And also you can send a face-up equipped spell card you control to the graveyard and negate the activation of the spell or trap card that targets a monsters on the field and destroy it, which is really cool. I like that effect. It just helps out the deck a lot, and working with Supervise, this card really works out. We then play a single copy of Dark Storm Dragon. Dark Storm Dragon helps out the deck quite a lot because what this card does is it once per turn sends a face-up spell or trap card you control to the graveyard, destroy all spell and traps on the field. It just instantly board wipes all of the spells on the side of the field, which are the entire field, which is really good for the deck. We then play 2 copies of Nibiru to round out the monsters. The Nibiru is really good in here because it just essentially board wipes the field, especially with you wanting to go second to be able to OTK your opponent. This card really helps out to be able to just get stuff off the field so you can go at it. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Called by the Grave. The 3 copies of Called by the Grave just help out the deck a lot to be able to stop hand traps and stuff like that when you're trying to send stuff off Carbon Crab, or being able to get rid of your opponent's hand traps while you're trying to search and do stuff like that. We then play 3 copies of Extravagance. Extravagance is really important. I know we took a completely weird deck and threw Extravagance in it and made a completely budget deck into an expensive deck because Extravagance. Extravagance lets you draw 2 by banishing between 3 and 6 6 cards from your extra deck. If you banish 3, you get to draw 1. If you banish 6, you get to draw 2. But you have to activate this card at the start of your main phase 1. But we don't play anything else in the deck that draws, so this card works out just fine. We play a single copy of Terraforming because the Terraforming helps out searching out our Catalyst field, which is the really good field spell in this deck. We play a single copy of Supervise. The Supervise comes in super handy as well because it has the ability to equip only to a Gemini monster, and it becomes an effect monster, and it gains its effect. And if a normal monster is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target a normal monster in your graveyard and special summon it, which is really, really, really good to be able to get those additional effects off and get those plays rolling with your Chemicritters. We then play 3 copies of Catalyst Field, which is an insanely good field spell that makes the entire deck work. Like, if you look at this entire deck, it looks really bad just on paper, but then when you look at Supervised Catalyst Field and the new trap card that we have and Burnout, it's really, really good, actually. I mean, it's not really good, but it's pretty good. What this card does is each turn you get to... 1 level 5 or higher Gemini monster, you can normal summon without tributing, which is really good. This card actually used to be teched in Red Eyes decks when the Red Eyes Gemini monsters came out, which was really interesting. And it also has the ability that during your main phase, you can normal summon 1 Gemini in addition to your normal summoner set. And then once per turn, you can target 1 card your opponent controls and banish a Gemini monster you control that is treated as a Gemini monster and has gained its effect. Until the end of your opponent's end phase, and if you do, you destroy that card, which is pretty cool to give you an additional pop. This card kind of does everything that the deck needs it to do, which is really nice. This card is really good for the deck, and you have to play this card at 3. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're playing a single copy of Metaverse because, again, you have to get to the field spell as quickly as possible. So this card is really, really important. We play 3 copies of Burnout. Burnout is an insane trap card that lets you banish a face-up Chemicritter monster you control to special summon 2 Chemicritters from your deck with different names from each other. And then when your opponent declares a direct attack, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard and then target 1 card one of your banished Gemini monsters and special summon it. And if you do, it becomes an effect monster and it gains its effects as well. Burnout is one of the best trap cards in the entire deck because of what it does to be able to get you your Gemini monsters directly out. We then play 3 copies of Necrofusion. Now, you guys might be looking at this card and going, whoa, that's overkill. It is not. 3 Necrofusion is really good in this deck because you really want to summon your Super Alloy Beast Reptinus. This card is really good in the deck, and it makes all Gemini monsters treated as effect monsters, so it essentially turns off Gemini monsters' effects. That they're Geminis. It basically makes them regular monsters. So this card's really good to be able to get on your silent field. The only thing that's bad about this card is that it's a 2200 beat stick. So Necrofusion basically turns your entire graveyard because you're not super touching the graveyard. So Necrofusion's really good in here because you just set it after you go off with your turn and then summon this, and then go off with protecting your cards with the different Gemini monsters effects. We then play 3 copies of Gemini Abellation, I think I'm saying that right. What this card does is, this is one of the new cards that came out of Toon Chaos, but during your main phase, you can discard a card to activate one of these effects. You special summon a Gemini monster from your deck as an effect monster, and that gains its effects. Or you tribute a Gemini monster, and if you do, you special summon a Fire Warrior monster in your hand or deck. And then if you tributed a Gemini monster that was treated as an effect monster and had its effects gained, you also get to destroy a card on the field, which is really good to be able to summon out your copy of Phoenix Guilford, which actually just got a retrain to be Immortal Phoenix Guilford, which is really cool. But this card's really good to combo off with this card to be able to get your different plays off. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, you're going to see a lot of repeat cards because it is an extravagance build. So we're going to be playing 2 copies of Vol Chemicritter, a Menthol Drago. This card is really cool. It's really interesting. I just feel like you need 2 of it. Like, I know that 3 of it's kind of like, sometimes you play 3, but I feel like 2 is fine because I'm playing another rank 8 in the deck. But what this card does is when this card is XYZ summoned, you get to target a Gemini monster in your graveyard and special summon it. And then when this card has XYZ materials, monsters your opponent controls cannot target Gemini monsters you control for attacks. And also, your opponent cannot target Gemini monsters you control with card effects. And then while a Gemini monster is normal summoned, you can detach a material from this card and make your opponent send 1 card from their hand or field to the graveyard, their choice. So it's really good. You want to summon this card all the time, but you just need it as a 1-of to summon. So you play it. Even in my non-extravagance build, when I was testing this deck without extravagance, I still only played this card at 2. We then play 3 copies of Super Alloy Beast. This card's really good to summon out with your copy of Necrofusion. You're going to summon this card so much with Necrofusion. That's why I play this card as a 3 of in the deck. And then I play 3 copies of First of the Dragons. Now, this card is insane. A lot of people actually don't have outs to this. Like, it's really weird because monster must be fusion summoned. It cannot be special summoned by other ways. You can only control 1 First of the Dragon. And this card cannot be destroyed by battle except by battle with a normal monster. And it's unaffected by other monster effects. And it takes 2 normal monsters to fusion summon into this, which Gemini monsters count as normal monsters, so it works to summon this card because all of your Gemini monsters say this card is treated as a normal monster while face up on the field or in the graveyard. So they count as, you know, fusion monsters, or they count as basically fusion materials while they're in the graveyard. So it's really easy to go off into the First of the Dragons with this deck. We then play 3 copies of Link Spider. Link Spider is really kind of a weird, quirky card in this deck because you can summon Link Spider. And then once you summon Link Spider to your side of the field, you have the ability to special summon a Gemini monster from your hand that's, because they're normal monsters, to your side of the field. So if you normal summon out like a Carbon Crab, you can just instantly special summon out another monster by linking it away to summon a Link Spider, which is pretty cool. I play 1 copy of Abujin Arashima. This card is really cool because you can summon this. That's really cool with that lighting. What this card does is basically when you summon this card, you have to use 2 monsters with the same level, and it has the ability to, if this card is link summoned, you can special summon 2 monsters, 1 from your hand and 1 from your graveyard, but their effects are negated immediately after this card resolves. You XYZ summon, which can be your Vol Chemicritter, or it can be number 38, Hope Harboring Dragon, Titanic Galaxy. These are my 1-ofs that I'm getting into down here, which can negate spell cards, which is pretty good. If you don't want to play the 38 because you feel like you're banishing it too much, get rid of the 38, play another Vol Chemicritter. It's totally up to you. Then we play a single copy of Boral Sword. Boral Sword's kind of cool. Yes, it does take effect monsters, but you can make it pretty easy because you can go into Link Spiders to make them count as effect monsters, and you play 3 Link Spiders. So if you don't resolve your copy of like Catalyst Field or something like that, you still have the ability to go for Boral Sword with your Chemicritter monsters by linking them with a Link Spider. Because essentially you summon 2 Link Spiders and you special summon 2 more monsters, and then you link one of them away for a Link Spider, and then you just need to normal summon one, and you've got out a Boral Sword. You can use 3 Link Spiders to summon your copy of Boral Sword. That's totally fine. Especially if you use Necrofusion and then you summon out, like, if I normal summon a monster out to my side of the field and summon Link Spider, and I have 2 normal monsters on my side of the field, I can link summon both of them with this, and then special summon out a 3rd one, and then use Link Spider and have 3 Link Spiders on the field, flip a Necrofusion, go into one of these, and then immediately go for Boral Sword. And yes, I did use all those cards to summon Boral Sword, but it still works. And then Unicorn, just to be able to spin stuff if I need to. It's kind of one of those cards, I really don't use it all that much, but it's kind of there for toolbox reasons. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a really weird, cool deck, because no other deck does this where, like, it's solid Geminis. I don't think they've ever done that in any other deck, which is kind of cool and kind of weird all at once. But it's a super neat deck that's based on basically the elements of mixing them. Because if you guys didn't notice, Carbon Crab, it's carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen, which is pretty cool. I like that they're actually based around different elements on the table, which is pretty cool. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on the screen, become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out that Patreon down in the description below, because we have some awesome words for you guys, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.